All right, guys, it is Friday, and it's a great Friday. I never know the difference between Friday and Monday, but thanks for guys joining me here on Flip with Rick. Today, we are all going to talk about how to get your sellers to sign. And a lot of you think like I'm going to teach you trickery and stuff like that. I'm just going to give you the facts. And I'm going to give you 20 years plus of what makes a difference between a seller that signs with you and a seller that doesn't sign with you. And when we're done with this, my goal is hopefully for you to walk away so you can make decisions on what's best to get your deals done. And it's actually just really simple common knowledge. And I'm going to dispel a lot of myths. But before we get into it, my name is Rick. I am the Rick and Flip with Rick. You guys know my son, Zach. I've been doing this business over 20 years now. I love everything about wholesaling, and what I'm doing and what me and my son are doing is basically trying to get everybody excited about wholesaling and let them know that there is a way out. You do not have to be stuck in your miserable job. You do not have to settle for what life gives you. If you truly want to go out and use wholesaling and you have interest in it, then this is the place for you. So what I want you to do is there's a comment section. Introduce yourself in the comment sections. Let me know where you're coming from. That's awesome. And if you have a question, ask it in the comment sections. And if you want to go live and do a one-on-one, all you have to do is go over to Wholesaling Houses for Real, our largest Facebook wholesaling group that is active today on the internet. And then if you click on this video stream, there is a section in there to do a one-on-one. You just click through that. Once you're a member there and you're subscribed to our YouTube channels, then you are all set to do a live one-on-one. And here's the really cool part. The whole thing's free. So me and Zach never, ever charge for our services. So if anybody reaches out to you and says, hey, I got this offer, that offer, with us, it's very clear since we never accept money from our students other than doing partnership programs, stuff like that. We don't do coaching because we just teach you it for free. So if you have never heard of us before and you go, what the heck is everything you're talking about? Do me a favor. On the bottom of the screen, right here, go over to freewholesaling.com. That is a 100% free course. The only thing we ever ask you for is your email. And then we give you our 27 years combined experience on how you can get started in wholesaling, how not only to get your first deal, but teach you how to get to your first $100,000 deal. So make sure you put your comments below. If you have any type of comments, put them in there. I try to answer the questions. Also, make sure, God forbid, smash that like button if you're going to enjoy this material. I'm going to teach you how to get your deals signed. And it's not trickery. It's actually being brutally honest with people and working your sellers through a progression. And then ultimately, if you love what you're seeing, make sure you subscribe to our channel here. We are nothing without you. Everything we do is driven from you. We always look at the person who wants to get started in wholesaling or the person who really wants to get traction in wholesaling. And the whole purpose of this channel is to give you complete clarity on how to get started in wholesaling. And we remove the financial burdens that all these gurus throw out there for you, because most gurus are inexperienced. They actually don't do deals. And a lot of you think paying someone $3,000, $5,000, or $10,000 is going to make you successful. And I'm here to tell you, you can do $30,000 boot camps, whatever you want. When it comes to wholesaling, nobody is ever going to be able to beat this channel. Why? Because I already know, because I talk to you guys almost on a daily basis. And if you're considering a course or anything like that, do me a favor. Go to freewholesaling.com, take a look at our course, and then ask whoever you're buying your course from to do some sort of comparison. And if they don't want to give you a comparison or even like a free trial, please take that as a warning, is they just want to take your money. It's just the truth. If you go to 10 gurus, I guarantee 7 out of the 10 probably have little to no knowledge, and they're going to have a very simplistic course. And then once you pay them, you're never going to get their attention. So we want to fix that all here. I'm trying to create a legacy to help 100,000 plus people get started in wholesaling and get them to their first 100 grand. And I want to make this as simple as possible. Guys, we are in a challenging economic time right now. I believe 2023 is going to be the greatest year you can actually get started in wholesaling. Why? Because I do this business every day. I see the leads that are coming in, and it's only going to get better in 2023. So if you have true interest to get started in wholesaling, you are in the right place. Now, before we get started, I want you to understand the reason, like, I'm one of these crazy guys that actually loves wholesaling. I don't go in, I don't go out. I've done it for 20 plus years. You're going to find most wholesalers start, they do it for a few years, and then they pivot and they become coaches online. And honestly, it's a free world. Anybody can do whatever they want. But the true wholesalers, the ones that love it, stick to the business. It's what they do as their primary source of income. And then if they want to do coaching or anything else like that, they can do it. But the reality is most wholesalers who connect with the internet wind up being coaches. Why? Because it's more profitable to them and it's much easier for them to scale. But I let the cat out of the bag and I tell you guys the secret because it is the truth. So if you want to avoid this, you actually want to learn wholesaling from people who actually do this in their business. I've been doing it 20 years. I actually love this business. And the reason I do it for free is, number one, is you guys need it. We're in a different world. When I learned this business back in 2003, you had to pay people $20,000, $30,000 just to learn it. And I thought it was crazy back then. Fast forward to now, going into 2023, you got to be nuts to pay somebody for wholesaling because no one's going to give you better information than me and Zach. I already know this. I never ask for testimonials. Just go to our Wholesaling Houses for Real Facebook page. It's all on there. Go to flipwithrick.com. We show it to you. And by the way, I will never ask you guys for a testimonial because I don't need it for coaching sales because I do not do paid for coaching. So I am more of a long-term mentor. I did it with my son. I learned some valuable tips on what direction you guys need to actually be successful in your deals. And I'm going to share it with you today. But before we get started, I've already told you, I am a fully disclosed ADHD. That's how I grew up in school. I was told I would never make it. And I've learned my ADHD, which was considered a disability. Nobody even knew it was in school. I was just hyper. It is now my superpower, and it's the gift I bring to wholesaling. So if you identify with me on that, then you are definitely in the right place. So number one, I like to have fun when I do wholesaling. I find a lot of these topics can get boring. I get it. So we try to make it as entertaining as possible. Number two, if you can't have fun wholesaling, don't do it because you're able to pick and choose who you get to work with, sellers, buyers. And that's one of the beauties of this business. When someone becomes majorly difficult and they're a pain in the butt, they go out the door. And we do the same thing here. Everything we do is to help you guys. So we have to keep a positive attitude. And more importantly, you got to have fun. Watch this video. I'm going to show you how we treat wholesaling here at Flip with Rick.
Get the fuck out of bed, bitch. Go. Get up, again, they got go. Time to wake up, bitch, get up. Get up, get up.
See, guys, that's fun. So if you think that video is crazy, it is on purpose. It's here to kind of wake you up, shock you, distract you. You got a gold microphone, you got a red robe, you got long hair, and you got a musician. And yes, we do have permission on that video. So I love it. That's how I operate. So if you guys want to have fun, you want to learn about wholesaling, and then you want to do a one-on-one, this is the place to join us. If you want to do the one-on-ones, make sure you go over to Wholesaling Houses for Real. Click on today's link for today's live stream. And in there, you'll see a link to StreamYard. Once you're registered there, you can do a free one-on-one. It's that simple. So I love Rogers, Ric Flair. Woo! I tell you what, dude, don't get me started. I love the old school wrestlers, Ric Flair, Hulk Hogan, Andre the Giant. It's just good stuff, man. So, okay, so let's talk about it. I'm going to use I'm going to use my iPad today, and we're going to talk about how to get sellers to sign with you. And I'm going to walk you kind of through 3 phases, and we're going to start from the simple building blocks. And then at the end, I'm going to get into some technical maneuvers we use to get people to sign us, especially the ones that are on the fence. I see your questions. If you have any questions about signing, if you put it in the comments, I will try to answer it while I'm doing it. For those of you waiting to get on one-on-one, I do first come, first serve basis. So please put your name in there and we'll go from there. So let me switch my screen over, see if I can make sure I do this. Awesome. Okay. So we are talking about how to get sellers to sign. And the first thing you have to understand is you can never, ever make, well, let's just call it someone, which is your seller. Well, that's a bad terminology. Let's just use it. You can never make a seller sign. Okay? You can't make them. You can't. So if you are looking like, how can I make my seller sign? You're simply thinking about the process wrong. Okay. At the end of the day, a seller is either going to do a deal with you because it works for them or they're not. You can never force them. You can never make them do a deal with you. It's impossible. I don't care how good of a salesman or woman you are. This right here, understanding this, if you understand that, you can't force matter on having people do it. So many people try to relate this business to like a car salesman. Like a car salesman truly never convinces somebody to buy a car. And the same thing's going to happen in real estate. You can't make a seller. And if you think you can make a seller sign an agreement with you and force them, I almost guarantee you're going to have a lot of fallout on your contract. So understanding the difference is, the only thing you can do is basically walk them down a path that you are the best fit for them. So rule number 1 is you cannot force a deal. You cannot make them sign. So how do I avoid talking to people that don't even want to do a deal with me? So rule number 1, motivation first. And then, because if you go through the qualifications MCTP, and you realize they're not even slightly motivated and they only want to sell based on price, a wholesaler, a real good wholesaler, skips the process, because you can spend 5 hours with them. You're never going to convince them to sell your property at a discounted rate. So if you guys understand that up front, you know you can save a lot of your effort. So many of you sit there and try to beat up people that really have no interest and no motivation selling you the property. Just move on or put them in your follow-up. You can spend 4 or 5 hours. You're never going to make them sell it to you. I've tried it, guys. It's like pushing a boulder uphill. You are going to get crushed by the boulder and it's a waste of time. So understanding that motivation is an absolute must, you have to understand that. So once we know that, then we have to, how do I set up at a deal? So once you go through your MCTP and qualifying, either you're doing this virtual or you're going in person, the next thing you have to do is set up the upfront agreement. So if you guys have never heard of the upfront agreement, it's real simple. An upfront agreement is simply this. Before I sit down, especially before I get to the negotiation part, and I usually do this after I initially walked the house, if I'm at a property, or if I'm on the phone doing it virtually, is I'm going to tell the seller, I said, listen, I'm going to take some time. I'm going to get to know you. I'm going to get to know a little bit more about your property. And at the end of our discussion, you'll have a decision to make. And it's either going to be, yes, I want to work with you, Rick. I love you. You're fun. You're exciting. And you're a little all over the board. And I like fun people. Or I don't like your offer and you are not a good fit for me. And it's a no. But either way, we're going to come to the end of the road and it's going to be a yes or no. I have to make sure we have a commitment that you will make a decision to move forward with me. That's a yes, or you decide to move no. Can I get that commitment from you? Simply said, just like that. Now I have a verbal agreement. I have a head nod. And if they don't answer, you wait. And if they literally don't answer, you go back and reaffirm. And even when they nod their head yes, Is that a yes, Mr. Seller? Yes. The reason you do that is it walks them through their process. Understanding when people sell their property, guys, other than the loss of a loved one, it's probably the single most biggest decision they make in their life. And if you understand that, you can understand why sellers has reservations. And most of the people we're dealing with are challenging properties or challenging personal situations. You put a combo of those both, a lot of sellers get overwhelmed. Your job is to walk them through a process and reaffirm that they're making the right decision. The whole goal of any negotiation you do with a seller is to have them progress along. And you can't be random all over the place. You can't talk for hours on end, and you can't close the deal in like 5 minutes. So understanding that the upfront agreement probably is one of the single biggest factors if you're going to get a yes, okay? And it's the ability to get a yes or a no. Because at the end, what if they go like this? I don't know, Rick, I really have to think about this. Okay, Mr. Seller, is there anything in particular that has thrown you off in our discussion in the sale of your property? Well, I want to talk about this. Okay, I'm going to go over those for you. But remember, we had an agreement for you to make a decision of yes or no. Oh, yeah, that's right. So by using the upfront agreement, you actually build in an insurance policy. It doesn't work every time, but probably 80% of the time, it really comes in handy because people don't want to lie to you and they know they committed from you right in front of you and they don't want to go against their word. So I use this as a lever. Remember, I'm not forcing them to make a decision. I just want them to make a decision. So odds are if I've qualified them, I've set up an appointment, meet with them in person or virtually, odds are there's a good chance they're going to sell it to me. I just got to let them reaffirm they're doing business with the person that I say I am, and I can follow through with what I'm saying. So the upfront agreement is huge. So once you do the upfront agreement, you will never get a great decision without any type of rapport. I'm not going to go into depth with you guys. You know how I feel about this. How do you get rapport? It's real simple. You have conversations. Now, you can start with a script. Eventually, you have to turn scripts into conversations. Conversations are what normal people do. If I sit there and go, how many bedrooms is your house? 3. Okay. How many garage spaces are in the garage? 2. Guy, the garage is right there. Why don't you just look at it? As opposed to me walking around and go, oh my God, there's so many bedrooms in this place. This garage, does this fit like 4 cars? That's huge. Having a conversation, invoke emotion, and get them to respond. If you ask a seller yes and no questions, it is not a conversation. That is a script. I'm telling you, by just trying to find a way to have conversations, it will change the game in your relationship. Remember, people want to do business with people they like, they know, or they're friends with. So your job is to get them to like you. And why not? It's no problem coming. There's no issues coming friends with a seller, but the business has to come first. So we always treat people are our priority. And I love how people say, oh, you got to do profit first. No, profit doesn't come until you actually provide value to people. So many people want to get a yes at a decision. But if you do not build rapport by having great conversations, I almost guarantee you're going to get a no. Ask me how I know this. It's so important. Okay. So the next part of the structure is be you. Okay. Stop trying to be. If you guys hired a coach and he always wears a hat and a jacket and you feel like you have to be, stop it. Sellers don't like that stuff. They rather have regular people. I could care less if you wear a hat or a jacket. If that's who you are and that's your authentic self, be it. I need you to be you. You don't need to be Rick. You don't need to be Zach. The people need people just like you. The reality is God only made one of you, and there's a reason for it. You're unique. You're different. And I would use your God-given talent no matter what it is. So if you're super funny, make people laugh, that is like medicine to people's soul, and it helps out a lot. If you're really good at bringing up facts and like history that relates to the conversation, go for it. If you're a super bubbly person and people just enjoy connecting with you, make it work. But understand you've got to use your superpowers for the good of the transaction. Some of you are very analytical with facts and you can provide stuff with it, but eventually you have to turn it into a conversation. So Stop trying to be a robot because somebody taught you to do it this way. Honestly, the minute I let go and started being myself, it was so freeing because I don't have to fake it. And if you're faking it, you're doing the business wrong. Just be yourself with people. People relate to humans. There is a reason why I sell myself as Rick Ginn whenever I do a deal, because I own up to Rick Ginn. I am Rick Ginn. The minute I start doing my corporate spiel, it's a whole different conversation. And I'm telling you, people want to do business with personal people. I've worked for multi-billion-dollar corporations, and I remember they said before, they said, if this guy leaves Rick, we're gone. He's the only reason we do business with your company. And that's how you have to look at your wholesaling business. So you have to be you. By being you, it makes you what? It makes you authentic. When you're authentic, you're your true self. You send out vibes to the world that you want to help people out, and people pick up on it. I can sense the minute somebody's fake with me. It's just so easy. And for some reason in wholesaling, it is more of the norm to be fake than to be yourself. Guys, stop it. People love families. They love that you have kids. They love that you have dogs. They love that you have cats. So stop hiding it and accent it, because people, there's, by the way, 55% of people own dogs in the United States. So embrace the dog. I will tell you what, like if you ever come to my house and my dog doesn't like you or like you avoid it, I kind of wonder, like, what are you doing? So I'm a dog person. I love dogs. I think I love all animals, but there's something about dog people, like they connect, and you can tell when someone doesn't like a dog. So if you guys have a fear of dogs, you got to get over it quickly, because I've seen people not do deals because they never connected with their dog, as crazy as that sounds. Oh my God. It's so funny. So let's move on. When you're sitting down and talking to people, things you can do to avoid like freaking out your seller. So number one, trigger words to avoid. If you guys want to use the comment section and write it on, yes, we're having one-on-ones. If you just go over to Wholesaling for Houses for Real, you click on our live stream for today. There's a link to join the one-on-one. You have to be registered, and you have to be a member of our YouTube group. So if not, go ahead and do all that, and I'll try to squeeze you in. So we're talking about trigger words. If guys, put in the comments what you think is a trigger word that freaks sellers out. I know them all by heart, and I'm going to share them with you, and then I'll let you guys fill in the blanks, and maybe we can find some additional trigger words that I got sound on my side. So just let me know if anybody said someone doesn't have sound. Make sure you guys can hear me. Testing. Yeah, I'm working. Sound works. So Rob has on their contract. So I agree. Contract. Let's do all the words that trigger people. And a trigger word is simply a word that is so wired in your subconscious that it freaks you out a little bit. So when anyone hears the word contract, they just perk up. So what other trigger words do we have here? A contract's a good one. Signature. That's a good one. Inspection. I got more, guys. I can go all day on these. Wholesaler. Phenomenal. Nicole. Guys, we use the word wholesaler to express what we do for a living. The reality is 95% of the world outside of us, they're scared to death of wholesalers because they don't understand what we do. So if you understand that, then it's not a pride thing with wholesaler. Just don't confuse people and don't give them a reason to dislike you because they heard something from a realtor about it. Somebody else said investor. That's a good one too. Guys, keep them coming, because this is how we kind of learn. And then I always learn. The word attorney freaks me out. I can tell you that. Attorney's a good one. What else you guys got? I love this stuff because if you understand these words, so think of this. A trigger word is anything. If you think about, if you've ever got like pulled over by a police officer, which God knows I have, even when the red and blue lights at night, when someone's coming behind you, you get that like, oh my God, am I speeding? Did I do something wrong? Trigger words do the same thing. When you hear them, they're like, some people when you hear anything finances wise, they absolutely freak out. Let me give you a couple words that I came up with. Paperwork is better than contract, but it still has kind of a negative connotation. And then I will tell you this, the word price and the word offer. I'm just not a big fan on our side because it creates a, I figure papers is like paperwork's David on it. So, okay, we have a good list of trigger words here. So let's talk about what can we use words to replace them. So if we're talking about the first one on contract, I think somebody already posted it. I like agreement because you have the word agree in it. Remember, we're never going to force someone to do business with us. So if we use the word agreement, and you have to burn it in your DNA. So you have to catch yourself whenever you use the word the contract, you're going to switch it with agreement. It works really, really well. And you need to understand that. Signature. I'll let you guys kind of, and you guys, any of these words, go ahead. We'll start putting it in there and we'll just simply find replacement words. Once you're aware of the words you say that have power, it is going to help out with your cash buyers. I'm sorry, your sellers are making decisions, cash buyers as well. So if we go on signature, just by using the word, I like approved. Autograph is a great one. Who doesn't want their autograph? Here's a simple one I use. You ready for this? Okay. I just need your okay on these documents. And document's not a bad word, but it's still a little bit of a red flag word. Okay, autograph. I do like approve. So what about inspection, guys? Because inspection's kind of a wild one. And by the way, you can replace a lot of these words. Sometimes an inspection, just do a simple look. And then you can just get an okay on this one, or just approve. I do the same thing. Now, when it comes to wholesaler investor, this is the simplest one. And this is where a lot of you guys use the wrong words. I wouldn't use John Hancock. I don't want any like ambiguities there. So due diligence is good, but it sounds a little bit scary. A walkthrough is perfect. So let me see, who did the walkthrough? Of course, Henry did. So I appreciate it. Walkthrough is awesome. So the key with trigger words is use normal words people use and don't try to talk to above them, and think about it at like a 6th grade level. Because if you try to sound smart and over talk your sellers, I guarantee you're going to wind up getting a no. So let's move on. Attorney. I got some choice words I'd like to put in here, but I'm not going to. I'll have my team take a look at it. I don't use the word attorney because it freaks people out. I don't like the word attorney because all I hear are dollar signs and delays. So I'm going to use the word team. So if I had my attorney look at it, I'm going to have my team look at it. I don't know what I did here. Oh. Anyways, some technical difficulties. I'll figure this out. Where did I do with that? Never mind. So the other one I had on there was we did attorneys. I just used team. And guys, the whole idea is you got to avoid these trigger words. By avoiding the trigger words, it makes your life so much simpler. So I'm going to wrap it up because I want to get to talking to you guys. There's 2 techniques when you're talking to a seller to work them through this. Hold on. I'm going to try to pull this up again. See, this technology stuff's crazy. Okay, let me pull it back up. And let me get. So when we talk about techniques when we're working with a seller, there's 2 techniques I use that really help out your process in getting a yes from them. Number 1, good, bad cop. So if you guys know how that works, a good, bad cop is, remember, you're the good person meeting with them either on the phone or in person. And the bad cop is usually, Zach always makes it out to be me. Listen, my dad says I can't pay more than 100,000 for this house. And usually the seller goes, oh man, are you crazy? I can't do those numbers. And so here's the good cop, bad cop routine. I go, listen, my dad says that. That's why I come out to meet with you. I want to make this deal work. I told my dad he was crazy. What number allows you to walk away from this property? So simply by doing that good cop, bad cop, because people always like a villain. They like to blame somebody. So you, the wholesaler, don't want to be the villain. And by the way, on the last thing I said on the replacement words for trigger words, wholesaler, investor, just replace it with cash buyer. It's very, very, very simple. Don't over-represent yourself. Don't under-represent yourself. You want to use the word cash buyer. So hopefully that helps you out with it. Cash buyer. It's simple. It's worked forever. And these are one of the things I'm never going to change on. So good cop, bad cop, guys, I'm telling you, it takes pressure off your negotiations and it makes you look like the hero. And yes, you can be the good cop and the bad cop. You're just presenting it to your seller differently because it's just easier. Some of you are going to have an easier time, especially when you give that low ball offer. And you know what I'm talking about, right? Okay. We have to go for no on these deals. The next one is the volley method. And then this is when you get to the negotiation with your seller. You had an upfront agreement and they go, Mr. Rick, I don't know. I don't know what that number needs to be. And I'm simply going to go back to them. And by the way, I never use the word price or offer. I use the word amount. It works really well because it's not threatening. The word offer and ask price indicates retail. And the word price kind of indicates retail too. So if you use the word amount, it's very simple. My price is, no, the amount is, and you can go from there. So the volley method is basically when you ask them for a number and they won't give you an answer. And so remember, if I go for a no, I go, Mr. Seller, would you take 50,000 for this? Would you take 50,000? And I just shut up and they're like, Rick, I don't know. I can't do that number. And they don't give you a counter. The most frustrating part. I go, okay, Mr. Seller, tell me if you did have an amount and you knew what that amount was to make you happy, to get you and your wife on your way, what would that amount be? And how soon would you like to do it? Shut up. Every time you keep serving, they have to come back with a response. Did you know studies show when you volley twice, most people cave and break down? Not everybody, but most do. I've learned this over time. If you keep the volley going, so think about like a tennis match. By the way, I'm terrible at tennis. I'm horrible at it. Think about volleyball. But when you serve it, they have to serve it back to you. And what this allows you to do is have an interaction to get your seller to make a decision. Remember, you're not going to force a decision, but you have to go through the process to get it through to them. Okay. By using these two methods, it will allow you to induce a decision from your seller. It's really important because when they sit there and just don't do anything, you have to use techniques to keep the negotiations going. I find these are two simple, basic level ones, and it's very helpful. Now, what I want you to do is practice the volley method. You have to practice it because if you do it on the fly, it's going to be disastrous. If anybody wants to role play it, I would love to do it with you. The volley method is simply almost repeating the question and asking it back to them. By the way, don't use this on your wife because she figures it out in a week or two and she'll use it against you. Trust me on this. So will your kids. Kids are really smart on this, but your sellers, remember, my job is to walk them through a final decision. And that's what I have to do when I do this. So good cop, bad cop's pretty self-explanatory, but please practice it because it makes a huge, huge difference. So now that we understand that you can't force people to do this, that we have to do this, and we have to walk them through a system. The biggest, are you ready for this? What do you think is the biggest factor why people do a deal with you? Say you hit all the points correct. What is the single word that you can attribute why a cash buyer does business with you opposed to any of your competition or maybe even a realtor? Other than motivation, what do you think What do you think is the best way? And I'm going to wait for the answer because one of you guys have it. This is a culmination. If you walk the seller down the path, they qualify. I agree they like you, but there is one word. There is one word. Trust is perfect. Trust is part of it. They like you is definitely part of it. What does all that culminate to? What does all that culminate to you? They have what in you? They have to have this factor. And if you don't have rapports, relationships, rapport is part of it. It's all a culmination of this word. I'm not going to do the hangman thing. Faith is not bad. We've already talked about trust. So you guys are so close to it. When you demonstrate this, me and Zach talk about it all the time. You have to go through the journey for a seller, and you have to demonstrate this for a seller. And dude, Ryan got it right too, but Get Busy Global's got it right. It's a culmination of confidence. If you get their trust, their faith, you build relationships, you build rapport. It's unbelievable, guys. Everything is a culmination. So the final part of this is confidence. And the biggest question you have is, Rick, if I've never done a deal before, how am I supposed to get confidence? Well, confidence is demonstrated by all the things I just taught you, using the volley method, setting up the upfront agreement, walking them through a decision process, and just spending time with your sellers. Because in the end, if they don't like you, even if you're offering a higher price than your competition, they don't do business with you. So credibility is a big part of it. Belief's a big part of it. Care is definitely it. All that culminates to confidence. Think about this, guys. If you're going to buy a car, a boat, an RV, or like a house or a big ticket item, you want to make sure the person that is helping you is confident. And the minute they're not confident, there's not a lot they can do. You're just moving on to the next person. So you have to fill the confidence box. Confidence is a culmination of everything. Trust, rapport, faith. I like that one. Belief, and likeness. So guys, it's important. I'm going to wrap this up on this part and we're going to go to lives. Is people do business because they believe in you. So if they're not motivated and you're trying to force to get a decision, you're literally wasting your time. So make sure you go through motivation first. You do it by qualifying MCTP, and then you go through and you develop rapport with them. You develop a relationship with them. You avoid the trigger words, use the complimenting words. And when you get down to it, if you have to use a technique, good cop, bad cop, volley, whatever it is. And the really cool part is understanding this is all a process. And the sales process is simple. You walk through this. As you do it more and more, you'll get better and better at it. And then we're going to teach you what we call a trial close. So everybody knows what a trial close is. A trial close is when you test them to close. And if there's something they don't like, then you go in and fix that part that they don't like. Maybe it's the price, the terms, or something like that. You recertify what they like about doing with you. You fix the problem with it. Then you do a trial close again and you walk through it. And if they're confident in you and they like everything you hear, that's why they do a deal. And once they give you your vote of confidence, it's up to you to keep. And by the way, you can lose confidence quickly by not returning calls, not following up, and definitely by not closing. So I hope this, let me pull this off of here. So many people think that you have to force a seller into do it. It's not. It's never been a force. Actually, slick salesmen and wholesaling, it doesn't work. The person that can explain and build relationships will dominate a slick salesman any day. I'm not a slick salesman. I'm authentic and I know how to connect with people. And if you like doing that and that resonates with you, you will do extremely well in wholesaling. Extremely well. There's not a doubt in my mind. So let me get to some of the questions here. I tagged a few here. Let's see. So Nicole comments on here. What if the seller refuses or just doesn't give the offer amount first? What do we do? That's where you're going to go in and use the volley method, or you can use the good cop, bad cop. So good cop, bad cop, they don't give you an answer. Go, seller, don't shoot me. My partner said I can offer 80 grand and that's the most we can offer for the house. Would that work for you? I don't know. And either they're going to try to negotiate with you or they're going to try to shoot you in the foot. Are you crazy? And that's when you go, listen, Rick's crazy. He sits behind a desk all day, and I think he's on YouTube all day. And that's why I'm out here to talk to you. So let's talk. Let's find a reasonable number that will work for you. And then you start the negotiation by doing it. The volley is you just go back, Mr. Seller. I know you don't know, but if you did know a number to get you out from this property, what would it be? And shut up. And then when they come back to you and they go, Rick, I thought about it. You're the expert. You're here. You got to give me an offer. I go, listen, Mr. Seller, just give me a ballpark. I won't hold you to it. What amount works for you to move on with this property? And then I'm going to reassert that. I go, listen, and it's conditioned and you want to get it sold in 30 days. What is that number? And I just shut up. And after you do it a few times, either they're going to give you a number or they're going to get really ticked at you. Either way, you're making progress, and that's how you have to understand it. Remember, if you built a good rapport, think about a friend that tells you the truth and it hurts, but you still respect them and you get through it and you still wind up being friends with them and they actually help you out. So try those methods. They work really well. Because what are you going to do? Just sit there and like fight on price? You're going to have to find a technique to invoke a conversation. So by using good cop, bad cop and the volley method, you're doing a negotiation while having a conversation. The worst thing you can do is, we should take 80 grand. We should take 90 grand. We should take 100 grand. And I see a lot of people do that. And honestly, you're just a number then. You might as well go to McDonald's and get the number 2 on the order menu. You guys are better than that. You have to walk people through a process. Some people roll over and give it to you right away, and some never come to the conclusion. You got to get rid of the tire kickers, the ones that are never going to do a deal with you. And the ones that are struggling on the fence, you have to walk them through a process, and you got to get them to commit. You can't make them say yes, but you can guide them to a yes. And the people who try to make them say yes, they never do well in this business, because we're not here to make anybody do anything. The more problems you can solve, the more people you can help, the more value you provide, the better you're going to do in wholesaling. That's why I do so well. And I don't get hung up when I can't do a deal with someone. I go, it just wasn't right for them. The timing's not right. I'm going to circle the wagon, and I'm going to reapproach them when the time is right. Sometimes it is literally time and circumstance will only fix the deal. And if you understand that up front, it's sometimes just the process what people have to do. So guys, if you are brand new to what we're doing, make sure you go over to freewholesaling.com. Me and Zach break down this whole wholesaling thing. I don't care if you've never done a deal before, if you've done a couple hundred, I promise you, I can make you a better wholesaler. I can at least get you to your first deal, then get you to first 100 grand. And then after that, before the end of this year, I'm going to show you how to get to your first million for those of you that are truly motivated. So without further ado, I have one other question on here I missed. Let me see here. Where is it? I missed it. Let me see. Let's see. Okay. So I see a lot. So Tegan says in here, I had a question over your online purchase and sale agreement on this section called 3, closing date and transfer of title. What do you put in that date? You put in the closing date, and transfer of title is just talking about the legal terminology or whoever you want to put it. I'm not going to pull it up and bore everyone with you. If you want to give me some more details, I will answer that for you, because I got to pull it up. I'm like, I can't do that right now. But our contracts are very, very vanilla. They're very simple on purpose, and that's why you want them to be that. So if you guys want to join the one-on-one, just go over to Wholesaling Houses for Real. Click there. If you haven't joined, make sure you join, and either by the end of the live stream or by the next one, you'll be able to join us. So make sure you are a subscriber on our YouTube page too. So I think that's it. So let's jump on some one-on-ones, because what's up, Dylan? Long time no speak. How you doing?
Hey, Rick, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
I can hear you great. It's great to see you. How you been?
Good, man. So those of you who don't know Dylan started probably earlier this year. And
no. I started June of 2021, last year.
That's right. Yeah. So he's just over like a year and a half. And he was a lot of fun to work with in the beginning. He had a lot of crazy questions, but he fought the process a little bit, but after a while, it took him 3 to 6 months to really get traction. Am I right?
Yeah, 6 months to get my first deal.
Yeah. But the thing is, I want you guys to understand is he stuck through it. And I have no idea what he's going to talk about today. So we'll find out. So I haven't seen him in a while. So I did jump him in line. So guys, don't get mad. I promise I'm going to go back and get in line. But I like to share like real world experiences because me and Zach don't sit here and fluff this up. I could sit here and just give you positive testimonials all day, but unfortunately that does not give you a true snapshot of what goes on in the wholesaling world. Would you say that's correct, Dylan?
100%. You have to
And
do
you
it
get that
to-
on a lot of
yeah.
coaching programs, and you guys got to be aware of it. Everything is not like Facebook and Instagram. Everything's not perfect. Everyone's not like in a perfect bikini by the pool sipping margaritas. This business is work. So tell me what's going on and what do you want to talk about?
I'd agree with everything that you said. I always want to start off every time I get a chance to talk to you, to just thank you again for all the help that you've given me throughout my journey. I really don't know if I would be able to have made it to where I'm at without the help of you and Zach and a lot of others, but certainly you and Zach are up there. But I'm doing well, wholesaling here, like I have been full time. We had our biggest month in November. We did, in October, we did 100,000 in the month of October.
Dude.
Yeah, in revenue.
Yeah. So he's just like a year and a half. And the thing is, I just want you to understand, like he went through the journey and me and Zach's whole job is number one, let you guys know wholesaling's for real. And number two is give you an authentic picture of how much work it takes to get started in it. And that's where me and Zach do it differently. Most coaches are going to overhype you that I'm going to solve all your problems. I'm going to give you the roadmap and it's going to be fun and you're going to be wildly successful. And I want that for everyone. But the truth is at a 95% failure ratio, we've got to find a way to make this much easier for you. So we've reverse engineered it. Number one, we make it free. So you don't have any more obstacles. Number two, you can actually start out by making a profit instead of paying me as a coach. And then if you want to reinvest some of those funds in your marketing as you get a few deals. And third, and finally, is you get a true snapshot of like how this business is created, because almost every like wholesaling group I'm part of, stuff like that, all you hear is like the perfect now. Like, everybody's posting $50,000 checks. And then like Dylan's like, the hell am I doing wrong, man? I'm getting my butt kicked over here. People are hanging up on me. People are terminating deals. And I don't even know why I'm doing this business. And so if we can help you just get past that to your first deal, and then if you want to commit to get to your first 100 grand like he did in 1 month, then you have options to do whatever you want. So like Dylan, I hope you outgrow us and eventually you will, but I'm going to have a program coming up here for you, which you're going to love. And by the way, it doesn't cost you a dime. It's more of a partnership type of deal. And I'm testing it all over the country right now. I've got some wild success stories and I'm waiting to get all the information by the end of this month to share with you. But that's it. Most of the time, I'm just kicking you guys in the butt saying, hey, here's what you need to do. You're on the right path. Just because you're struggling now doesn't mean you're going to struggle forever, and you need to get through it. And that's the problem. A lot of times when you guys paid 5 or 10 grand for a program, it feels really good when you do it. And then you go, oh my God, this is a lot more work. He did, or she didn't tell me about this. I'm not sure I'm right for this. And the other thing is most coaches, here's the truth. This is going to be painful. They're not going to tell you the truth. Meaning, if you're struggling and you're thinking about quitting, if you don't pay me a dime, I can be actually tough on you. So I look at it like when I told Zach, I go, hey, it's tough. Hey, here's the deal. I know you made 2,000 phone calls this week. You don't have a deal to show for it. You're going to have to double down and make it happen. And if any of you have kids, like when they get of age, you're better off having the hard conversations with them when they're young to figure out life, or you can cream puff them all the way till college. When they get out to college, that's when they're going to live in your basement for the next 15 years because you didn't prepare them for life. So I love this business because Dylan has all the options in front of him. And now Dylan has enough information. He has enough income to decide how far he wants to push and scale this business. I've always told you guys up front, and I'm going to warn Dylan about this. Be careful about people that tell you they can scale this to $10, $12 million. because that starts to become like fantasy island stuff. And I'm just telling you, there is a huge price to do that. I'm not against it. I've done it, but I got in this business for freedom of my time. And you got to be careful because this business is local and you can only do so many markets. And that's the part you guys have got to understand. And that's once you have an education level, now Dylan can go, if someone goes, well, I do 15 deals a month. I go, really? 15 deals? What's your average margin? What do you pay for marketing? And you can start digging in and find out if they're for real or not. And the biggest thing I tell you guys, just be careful. I've taken $100,000 coaching programs. I'm like, I can't believe I paid that. This guy or this gal really didn't deliver. And there's no limit. If they take $97, $27, or $100,000 from you, you eventually have to have the tools to succeed. They have to give you the experience to do it. So without further ado, I'm just giving you, I love Dylan because you fought through it, and I don't take credit for your success. You did it. And if you didn't fight through it, you wouldn't be here talking to me now. And I'm just trying to inspire everybody watching this stuff, man, because I love when people get through the fight, because that's what reinvigorates me to it. And Dylan, do I call you up and go, hey, I need a testimonial? I don't put you on like the front page and go, look at the checks me and Dylan are cashing. Dylan cashes the checks. Dylan did the work. And I love what he did. And by the way, he's in the Florida market. And if any of you guys are doing the Florida market, you know it's challenging, just like California and New York. And he started out brand new in this market. So I'm going to shut up and let you take the mic. So what's going on, and is there anything I can help you out with? I probably can't at this point.
No, 100%, absolutely. You've never asked me for any kind of testimony or anything, but I would leap over fire to give you one. I really just have so much appreciation from my side for all the help that you had given me. And from a mindset standpoint, just when I was early on, I definitely did not have the right expectations getting into this business, thinking like, okay, 1 month in, I haven't gotten my first deal. I'm terrible at this. What the heck am I doing wrong? When really I didn't know the proper expectations of how many people you actually need to get a hold of and how long it takes to build a pipeline and all the work that goes into it in order to have a chance at even getting a deal. My expectations were totally off. And then I started to have like a negative perception of myself, thinking that I was not competent. And it was through conversations with you and Zach to have that real honest conversation to be like, listen, you are just straight up not doing enough. You are not putting yourself in front of enough people. You are not having enough conversations. You're not getting in front of the right types of leads. And to have that really honest, just raw advice was incredibly helpful.
Yeah. So would you say quantity is a big part when you get started in this business? You have to have a lot of quantity to even have the slightest bit of success, right?
I think in any stage of this business, it's still, you got to be talking to a lot of people.
Yep.
As I've grown, I've definitely learned that there are better leads to go after and there are worse types of leads to go after. And a lot of it's from watching your program. And so I'd rather double down on those leads that when you start to see like, hey, the last couple of deals I've gotten, they've all been, from a lot of the lead sources that Rick and Zach talk about. You're like, okay, so, if I'm having success in that, let me double down on that. And let me do everything I can to talk to as many of those types of leads as possible.
It's awesome. So guys, he's doing it. So what are you working on now? And like, what do you see going on in the market?
Oh man, well, it's definitely, selling deals obviously is more challenging. We're having to spend twice as much of our time on dispositions to make half the amount of money. And so it's definitely challenging. And a lot of sellers don't realize, or they don't have the same mindset of the change in the market as us investors know the reality of. So it's like you said, I've seen your videos now here recently, and you're saying, listen, focus on finding the most motivated people. And that's what we're looking for. Everyone on my team, we are just focusing on the highest amounts of motivation and doubling down. And how can we get in front of as many people of those, the tire kickers, even the people that are having interest to sell, but their property's all fixed up, they're in good shape. They could list with a realtor. If it's someone that even probably could list with a realtor, the likelihood that that's going to be someone who's going to be a good fit for what we're doing is much less now. We're looking for people that are in signs of distress that we can really go in there and add value.
Yeah.
So
So it's,
we actually just signed 2 contracts this morning, one in Spring Hill and one in St. Petersburg. And so that was really cool. But
keep in
one thing
mind,
that I
you're learning during a time where the market's really down. And if you can learn to be successful in this market, boy, it's a fun ride for like when going up. So it's,
thanks a
unfortunately,
lot.
you started like right at the peak when it was just dropping off. And it's just like, so you've been through like the emotional roller coaster of like a market change. And it's actually going to serve you better in the long run. I guarantee you, because when I started, I went through the same thing. I thought I could do no wrong. And then I was same, I was struggling to sell anything. And I finally just revamped how I did it. I go, we're only going to deal with the most motivated people. So semi-motivated people, you went in the follow-up until you got highly motivated, because I can't get a great deal from you to attract the cash buyer, because I got to beat everybody else's prices.
This market, you have to get a great deal. It has to be a great deal. And at least in my experience, 99% of the time, the only way that you're going to get a great deal is if you're dealing with someone who is truly motivated and has some type of problem in their life that can help be solved by selling a property.
I agree 100%. So
the thing that I wanted to talk with you about is I wanted to ask your input on one thing that I'm doing in sales is really trying to get better at introducing scarcity and urgency when I'm speaking with my sellers. And I wanted to ask, what is it that you do in your conversations to share with them, hey, not only is this an offer, but there is a reason why it would be a good idea to accept it sooner rather than later, because it may not be here later. How do you introduce, I'm trying to figure that out, because right now I feel like a lot of the sellers that I talk to are like, well, I could take Dylan's offer now, or I could call him in 15 days. I could call him in 30 days and take the offer then, and I'm trying to get better at introducing that
yeah.
scarcity and urgency.
So number one, just make sure you do the upfront agreement. It doesn't work 100% of the time, but it will eliminate most of your tire kickers right off the bat, the ones that don't want to make a decision. If you can snuff it out up front, because you don't make offers to people that aren't ready to sell their house, it's a waste of time. You're actually giving them key pieces of information they can leverage to make their deal better down the road. And if they want to do that, it's great, but they need to see a realtor, not me, to do that. So number one, the upfront agreement. Number two, you're dead on the leverage. So in the last 4 years, really 5 years, actually 10, 11 years, a seller could wait and actually expect to get the same amount, if not more. Would you agree with that statement?
Oh, 100%.
Okay. So now we're in the opposite market. But the problem is we're at the point of the market where the prices are just falling off the cliff. And the news is now just hitting the media. So you're not seeing a lot of positive news about real estate in the media. So we're following behind stocks, crypto, all that other fun stuff. The stuff I don't teach anything about, and I never will, because this is a real estate channel. And I don't know why any sane person would discuss that on a real estate channel, but I guess everybody needs content. So as the news gets more negative, it'll become bigger in the media. And I hate to tell you this, guys, the media is what programs your sellers. It's not us. It's not realtors. They get enough negative news, then it's like for real. Most sellers are to the point like, okay, well, I'll sell now because my prices aren't going up. Now they're just getting the news it's going down. The question is, how far is it going to go down? So sellers are now in what I call the spiral downward death roll. And what that means is, say a property is worth 200 today. And traditionally, here's what a realtor does. Well, we're going to list it for 219.9, right? 30 days goes by, it doesn't work out. And they go, listen, we're going to drop it 10 grand. We're going to go to 209.9 to get some action. We were reaching to begin with. Well, the reality is the property is worth 200,000 the day they listed it. And then you have a market going backwards 1 to 2% every month. So eventually the realtor, the seller calls them up screaming at him like, guy, it's been 60 days. We have nothing. And then the realtor goes, the market's changed. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to price it just below 200 at 199.9, and we'll get what we initially talked about, right? Okay. So now they're down to 199, and now cash offers are coming in at 110 and 120. And the seller's like, there's no way I can take this price. and they keep chasing yesterday's price, and they're never going to catch up because no one's ever going to meet their expectation. Eventually, what's going to happen, guys, is 6 to 12 months is going to go by. What do you think that seller is going to think after 6 or 12 months that property's sitting on the market? Them chasing a price they're never going to catch on yesterday's listing. They're going to give up because they've either moved out of the house, they have monthly payments, or it's in disrepair. And that's the sweet spot where a wholesaler comes in. The problem is a lot of you guys are chasing that 3 to 6 months right now. And I think by the end of December and January, the story's going to start to get ugly. No one's bailing these people out. So right now, in confidence, you can know when you make an offer on a property and they don't accept it, most likely you're not going to get beat out in your offer. So the days of where another wholesaler would go, okay, I'll give you 10 grand more, those days are kind of over. So you're correct. We have to use leverage and create urgency on what the current market conditions are. So Mr. Seller, go, listen, I respect that you need time to make this decision, but we did agree on getting a yes or no. What part of this conversation is scaring you? Or sometimes I go, did I upset you? Is there something I said? If you could try to pinpoint what their issue is, if they think they're going to wait and their conditions are going to get better, that's where you go, listen, by waiting, the market's only going to get worse. My offer is only good for the end of this week. After that, I'm going to have to relook at it because the values are going down. And when your neighbor's house closes for this or that, then I have to adjust the price accordingly. So you have to find a way to pepper it in. By them taking time, it's actually, I just go, listen, do you think the offer is going to go up or down? Do you think market conditions are going to get better? Interest rates are only going to get higher. There's going to be less cash buyers. And I don't know how much money I'm going to have left to do this. So I respect it. But if you decide that you can't do this, I have to move on. So if something changes, call me by the end of the day. Now, here's the thing is you can always go back and pay more if you want, but your guys are going to have to be willing to walk away from people. But by letting them know by waiting, it's a strategy that's only going to put more pressure on their deal. It's not going to help it. In the past, it was the complete opposite. And honestly, you and me were fine waiting. I waited 2 years for a property. I made an extra 80 grand on it. The complete opposites happen. So if I offer 60 grand on a property, and they come back to me 3 months later, there's no way I can touch that 60 grand offer again. And you're going to have to let them know it. How do you push them? Go, listen, by taking this offer, you're ensuring what equity you have left, and you can put this to bed. Then I always hang the leverage on what they want to solve by meeting with you. And if you don't know what that is, you better find out. Most people sell a problem property because they just want it done, and they want certainty and have it done. By having them not make a decision, they don't get certainty. So you got to circle back around the certainty and go, listen, I don't know what the Fed's going to do. I know they're only going to raise rates more. And the more they keep raising rates, the more it costs me to buy your house. And I have to give you a lower offer. I'm sorry. It's going to happen everywhere. And I just gently remind them. And you just keep pushing until they make a decision. And then if you put them in the follow-up, and they want to decide to do an offer with you and they wait a month or two, you have to make them pay the price for it. Because most likely your cash buyers want a deeper discount. Every month that goes by, would you agree, Dylan, cash buyers want a deeper and better discount, right? They're getting freaked out, man. And that's, unfortunately, we have to survive this gap. Now, here's the good news. If you survive this gap, you'll be prolific for the next 10 years. So I went through this in 08 to 2010. The good news is, guess how long you think this will last for if you were a betting man? Like this scarcity of cash buyers. Time-wise.
Another 2, yeah, at least for another 2 years.
So you're looking at 12 to 24 months, somewhere in there. You guarantee. So the next 12 months is definitely going to be like this. And then what happens is once those rock bottom prices hit and interest rates start going down and activity levels increase, it's going to take a while to eat that inventory up. And then you'll start getting some appreciation back in prices. And there, all of a sudden, the cash buyers are going to come out of the woodworks. And then you're going to get back to a more normal market. So right now, we are 100% in a buyer's market. And it's going to be that way for a while. So you have to survive it. So just use the leverage piece. But you can't tell them the bad news. Always use the media. Hey, have you checked the news lately? Like, it's crazy what's going on with real estate. How can people even afford like you got to understand, for me to finally sell a house, get it fixed up, even borrowing money, it's costing me 8 or 9%. They're like, yeah, I don't know how people do that. So but there is a fine line between leveraging them and scaring the hell out of them, and you can't freak them out too much. So once again, I'm going to play good cop, bad cop. I'm going to blame the media because the media oversells everything. And then what do people watch every night? You know how much news people watch on average? It's like 3 to 4 hours a day. 20 minutes here, 20 minutes there on your iPhone, on your iPad, whatever it is. It's crazy. So just use the leverage and understand it and just have a conversation with them. Go, oh, if you don't sell it to me, you're going to get a lower price. I simply say, listen, by you waiting, the problem's only going to be exacerbated. And if you wait too long, you're going to get a lower offer. And God only knows what's going to happen with the house. So I don't know if you guys watch the media. I don't control the Fed. I don't control the U.S. government. All I can do is try to help you sell the house. You said you want to have it sold by the end of this month. I assure you, if you go today, you're going to get the best offer possible today. If we wait anything past today, I cannot assure you what price I'm going to get. And it's only because of the market conditions. And that's it. And you just play around with it. Sometimes it flies, sometimes it doesn't. But don't be the one that rains on their parade. Like you give me the news, go, have you checked the media? Have you checked CNN lately? They're very negative. And by the way, come January, you're going to see so much negativity in real estate. It's actually going to be a really big lever for you guys. That's it. Like, that's all you can do. You can't scare the crap out of people. Like, but the reality is there's very few buyers out there. And if you're struggling to get buyers, imagine how a regular seller is going to find a buyer, because most of them are kind of unrealistic and they don't even know how to do it. And they're struggling even working with realtors. So if they have a problem house, I know we're the best fit. We just have to walk them through it without scaring the hell out of them. But I guarantee you, if they call you back in 3 months, you're going to give them a lower offer. You have to.
Yeah,
even if it's $1,000, just out of principle, you have to do it. So that's good, man.
Do you
What else
change
going on?
do you change the approach at all if it's a probate property and the person, the PR, wants to move forward, but if they have other family members that are wanting to hold out for more money, do you change that approach in order to overcome that
It's
objection?
really the same pitch. So you have to pitch the person that's in charge. Listen, the only thing waiting does, it just gives you less options.
Mm-hmm.
So if your goal is to get the equity and get this put to bed today, and then you can finish out the probate, I can help you accomplish that. If you want to wait and figure out what the price is 3 to 6 months, the only thing I can tell you is based on the media news and the Federal Reserve, it's just going to be lower. And that's it. It is the truth. I'm confident in saying that to them, but probates are always going to have the probate thing with them. Most probates aren't hypersensitive to the market. They just, either they want to sell it or like they don't, or you got to solve some sort of problem with it. It's the regular people, mostly people on FSBOs. It's a hard explanation to them now because they're all in that death spiral. They're chasing yesterday's prices. I'm like, and every month they go, okay, I'll drop it another 10 grand. I'm like, well, the cash buyers dropped their price another 10 grand. So you're not gaining any traction by doing that. And what happens is eventually they just give up one day. It's called capitulation. They use this fancy word in the stock market. Same thing happens to real estate. Have you ever owned a stock where I've owned a stock, I've watched it drop for 2 years. You're just like, I give up. This thing's a loser. I just give up. I sell it. I don't even care. Whatever. I lost 80% on it. You write off, dude. Like 3 months later, it like doubles in price. I'm like, oh my God, I was a moron. And it's every time I buy a stock, but you have to throw in the white flag and give up. Real estate is much more emotional because at least stocks, I can push a button and end my misery. In real estate, when you decide to end your misery, then you got to figure out how you're going to get it done. And that's the real struggle, because there's a cost of liquidating real estate. It's not just press a button. The day someone figures out how to sell real estate by pressing a button, that's going to be a scary day. It's never going to happen. It's just too much involved into it. So it's strange market conditions. They're only going to get worse. And remember, guys, I saw a realtor's post the other day in a wholesaler's, I think it was on a Wholesaling Houses Real. They're like, we just have to hold on a few more months and then we're going to come out of this thing. I'm like, boy, you really don't understand how the real estate market works. One thing I've learned with real estate, it drops slow and it even comes up even slower. So we're only about, guys, do you realize we're only about 3 to 4 months in this current market cycle. And most down markets are 18 to 24 months. So we're from 12 to 24 months of this stuff. Why? Because that's what historic facts tell us. And I don't think you and me are going to change that. So realtors are telling buyers to hold on. I get giddy about that because they're not going to be able to hold on. I don't want anyone to suffer, but if you got a problem property, you better sell it today because you're going to be like that stock guy. Go, I bought it at 500. It's down to 400. You're better off taking the $100 loss now per stock than waiting it till it goes down to like $100. Same thing. So until sellers decide to throw in the white flag, you are going to have this tenacious fight. I believe this fight's going to go on through summer and next fall. And by then, I think you're going to have a whole different conversation with people. But guys, wholesaling is constantly a moving market. It doesn't matter when you start. Think about this. If somebody was getting ready to stock market, when's the best time to start? It's now, because stocks only go up over time. And if you play in the game long run, you're going to win. If you think you can time the market, you will never, ever win. They did a study and they said, if you ever try to time the market just by being out of the 4 biggest trading days out of a 2 or 3 year cycle, you cut your return down by 70%. Same thing in wholesaling. If you're young, if you're old, just start today. And if you figure it out in these types of market conditions, I know you'll survive. Honestly, if you figure out how to make it when the market conditions are real hot, I'll know you survive. It's going to be hot one day, down one day. The one thing at 53 I've learned, these markets always are moving and you're never going to time it. So you just kind of go with the flow. You have the common sense skills to talk to people now. So now you're at that point and now you just have to, now you're getting experience and now you can walk people down the funnel and you can be more precise with it based on the feedback you get from people. And that's all you do. So you adapt it. When markets are tight like this, you got to be patient and you got to find the most highly motivated people. So you're doing all the right things. And by the way, guys, December is always my best month in wholesaling every year, hands down. Doesn't matter if it's a good market or bad market. Why? Because people like to make decisions at the end of the year, period. End of story.
See, I'd always heard that real estate transactions slow down towards the end of the year. So that's really interesting.
For real estate agents, we are not real estate agents. So
that's really interesting.
Yeah. So I love hearing from you, man. So call in anytime you want. So I like to get the people that started out this journey to understand, like, you guys are no different. It's the people that will stick through it and just admit their faults and be accountable, which is what you did. You didn't take it personally, especially when like a 21-year-old kid's telling you what to do. It is shocking. Like, I've had to struggle in my own company. Like, I go, trust me, my son knows more than, I don't care how old you are. Stop looking at people's age. You can learn stuff from a 12-year-old. You can learn stuff from a 5-year-old. Life is about learning. Nobody asks what your age is when you learn something, right? You just go, okay, I learned from that. I can move on. Guys, I take a lot of advice from my son, and it takes a lot for me to do that. But like, he thinks differently than I do. And once you accept it, it's good. But I only take advice from people that are aspiring and like thriving in life. And if you guys take advice from people on the internet that never did wholesaling, you are going to wind up in their exact same shoes. I'm telling you.
I think if you can do the work consistently without seeing the fruits of your efforts, without seeing the results, then you'll be successful in wholesaling. If you can't do that, it's just not going to work, because that's what it requires in that first year is an immense amount of work without seeing very, very few results of all your efforts.
Yeah. So, well, I'm really happy for you. I think you're well on your journey, and like you're just getting like started. So just make sure whoever you hire or anything going forward, you do your full check on everybody. Because guys, I have never, ever in my 20 plus going on 21 years, there's more coaches now than I've ever seen in my life. I think there's more coaches than there are wholesalers. How's that? And it doesn't matter from the day you're starting all the way to like making $1 million, everybody. And I'm not against coaching. Like I've done plenty of it, but the problem is it's very confusing on which ride to get on. And I just want you guys to be educated. If you will take the massive amount of action, get a few deals on your belt, and then you can decide which way you want to go through your business. I'm okay with it. But like, if you want an opinion on it, I'll tell you, because it's not how much money you make. It's about how happy you are at the end of life. And like, honestly, it doesn't matter. I remember when I go, man, if I could just make 100 grand wholesaling. And then I go, man, if I could make 200 grand. And then I remember 500 grand. And then I remember when I netted $1 million. Like, oh God. And it just, dude, it never stops. Even my wife goes, man, your target is like constantly moving. And I've learned you'll never be happy in life if you constantly, it's okay to move the target to push your company. But like, 4 years, you guys don't know about this. For 4 years, I worked night and day, 6 days a week to try to blow up the biggest business to do $10, $12 million in sales. And I was miserable. Honestly, I failed at it. Like, let's just say it. I didn't like it. It wasn't fun because I was doing endless meetings. I could never go on vacation. I couldn't go fishing when I wanted, and I was miserable. So I work with a very tight team. We're extremely highly profitable. We have no offices and we make a ton of money. And I really enjoy what I do because if I want to go out in the boat when I'm done with the stream, I can do it. If I want to go meet with a seller, I can do it. I can do whatever I want. And that's the beauty of it. I think later today, me and my son are going to go watch a local high school wrestling tournament because we just love it. Like, I love stuff like that. So if we can talk business and do something together, it's awesome. So
Rick,
just don't lose focus on what you got into this for, okay?
Let me know if you ever want to do some fishing up in Tampa Bay. And I got
definitely.
I got Zach on Instagram, so definitely let me know. But I'll let you get to. I know there's plenty of other people. Thank you so much for taking my question. Thank you so much for all the advice that you've given me over the last year and a half. Tell Zach I said hey, and I can't wait to see you next one.
Okay, awesome. Thanks, Dylan. I'll talk to you, bud. Thank you.
Bye.
So, guys, just that gives you, like, I remember the day like he started, and the really cool thing about what me and Zach do is we just give you, like, we can give you raw advice, and I'm going to give you advice that sometimes you're not going to like it. Why? Because I don't have to worry about you like charging back your credit card to me. And honestly, if you look at like a parent or an uncle that would just tell you the truth, if you look now, especially you guys that are older, like if nobody's as old as me, but when you get older in life, you go, man, I really respect because that person pushed me. I remember looking back to my old high school football coaches, my wrestling coach. And at the time I was like, man, why are you making my life so miserable? And I look back at it now as they were really trying to make the best version of who I was at the time. And I didn't respect them for it. And I didn't understand it. And I look back now, by the way, I've apologized to all of them. I was a difficult person. I always thought I was right. And if any of you guys that are coaches on here, especially any type of sport, I love what you do because you shape people. Do you understand me being a wholesaler was shaped by my wrestling coach? He taught me how to endure. I quit a few times when I was getting beat up and I was bad. And he told me to really make you in the man you need to be, you have to walk through this wall. I remember like, is this guy crazy? Why am I walking through a wall? It's painful. And I look back now, that was back when I was a 16, 17-year-old man. And everything they taught me is a core of what I do. So by the way, me and Zach give back to all the local wrestling programs because we love it. It doesn't mean you have to be a wrestler. I just like it because it pushes young men to be their best. It pushes some young women. I don't care. I love cross country. I love any type of sporting event that molds and shapes people because I always look back to when I did wrestling. I did football too, but football taught me how to work with a group of people, but wrestling taught me how to push my limits and how to get through really difficult times. So I always look at it, I go, if I got to talk to 500 sellers today, it can't be worse than being pinned upside down on a mat as like my girlfriend and my mom were watching. It was horrible, but that's what I learned through like wrestling. So if you're a coach, man, let me know. I love any type of coach. So Vincent, you know what I'm talking about. I taught my son when he did wrestling, I go, man, it's going to be 4 years of your life that either you're going to embrace this or you're going to hate it. And actually my son embraced the heck out of it. And sometimes it takes another person other than your parents to help you get through those times. And that's what I'm kind of here for is when people get on here and complain, oh, I made 200 calls. I didn't get a deal. I'm like, okay, do you want tissues? What do you want? Like you have to go do the work. So, guys, make sure if you have kids, you are pushing them early and developing them because I'm telling you, I love schools. My wife's a former teacher. A lot of my friends are teachers. The teachers' hands are tied. It's not what it used to be in school. And you have to be much more responsible for raising your kids to get them to the point Otherwise, you are going to be stuck um, having your kids live in a basement. You want your kids to be independent and self-sufficient and happy, and that's what you want to go with us. So, um, let me get on here. Hey, Kyle, you there?
There we go.
Hey, Kyle, how you doing, man?
Doing good, Rick. How are you?
Good, good. What's going on, man? What can I help you out with?
Man, there's a lot going on. So yeah, I'm in my early stages here. I'm in Tampa Bay. I got to meet up with Dylan and pick his brain. But I got a couple questions. Nothing too specific. I am noticing that I'm reaching sellers. I'm getting some leads, but they're not very motivated. I was just curious on like if you have any advice on what are some highly motivated, I know everyone wants to know this, but highly motivated lists right now that I should be going after.
So, I'm not going to change my tune on it. Government lists are still going to be one of your best sources to get. And then if you're going to use List REI or like exactdata.com, if you look under the vacants and the pre-probates, they're very well. The good thing about those two lists, you don't have to pull them often. Like
Right.
I pull them 3 times a year because I can. But if I was new, I'd probably pull it once or twice a year just to have a good list. Now the list's not perfect, but it will catch you some nuggets in there. It works really well. I rather you work those lists before you start digging into like high equity, because then
Yeah.
those can get a little bit weedy and a
Okay.
little bit more work. But the biggest cure to lacking in deals when you're starting, are you ready for this, guys? It's quantity. Like there is
Yeah.
no cure for quantity. Dylan can't stress to you enough how many people you actually have to talk to, and most of you are way underestimating what it takes. And everybody wants to go, hey, Rick, if I talk to 1,000 people, will that get me a deal? I don't know. You have so many variables, your experience, the market level you're in. What are you saying? Are you actually using the information at freewholesaling.com?
Mhm.
So I will tell you this, quantity will make up for a lot of deficiencies in experience. And it serves 2 purposes. It gives you a much wider net because you can only deal with highly motivated sellers. So is it frustrating when you deal with people that are like semi-motivated, like even at that, right?
Yeah. Oh,
It's you're not going to get you will pound your head. You are going to do realtor stuff if you try to convince even a semi-motivated person to come over to your side of the equation.
yeah.
It's not going to work. Those people all need real estate agents. And guys, do not fear real estate agents in this market. They're actually going to help your cause easily, because anyone who wants to list a property for retail, unless it's a very low property with no issues, the market is going to discipline them. I
Mhm.
know you don't want to hear that, but like I have a lot of deals sitting on the market right now. I know they're going to take 3 months. I know no one's ever going to buy them, and it's going to be the easiest conversation after that. I do not fear realtors, because realtors do not have solutions, because people don't want to go get mortgages at like 8.5% to buy these properties, knowing they can only get them cheaper down the road and they're going to get better financing on the deal. So quantity is hands down going to be your best list. And then if you're not, are you doing this virtually or locally?
I'm in Pasco County. So should I
Okay.
be doing should I just focus on one county, or should I be doing like more
Well,
counties?
if you need to add quantity, if you can add a nearby county or city and add to it because you need more quantity, then that's fine. The problem is if you start stretching virtual markets, it can get painful because you have to learn one market at a time, in my opinion, to truly master a market. And the idea is you can just keep building. So virtual marketing usually takes you about 3 months to even dial in pricing. So if you're okay going to a neighboring city or county that you're somewhat familiar with,
Mm-hmm.
then you can do it. If you don't have any familiarity with it, you got to like figure it out, because it's like if I go one county away from me, like there's a 20% difference in price. And if you make assumptions based on your current market, you're going to get killed. So you can expand to it and then you can always turn it up or dial it back, but you have to get quantity at first. So if you need that to reach your quantity goals, then do it. And guys, it's always painful the first time you got to go out and get these government lists, because every county and city has a different procedure. It's a nightmare. I think they do it all on purpose to frustrate everybody. But once you master it once, that's all you usually have to do it, because then you know the process going forward getting it.
Okay. And then so I'm doing a lot of reverse drive for dollars. I'm pulling these lists, I'm sticky note, I'm cold calling, and I'm sending mails too. So I'm doing all three. A lot of the sticky notes I'm doing are on vacant houses, right? And they're like absentee owned, it looks like, obviously, because they're not there. But I just realized I'm doing like I'm skip tracing the numbers with batch, and I'm like calling on a dialer basically. So should I be doing just like one at a time and really trying to find the owner, like dig deeper than just massive skip tracing?
Well, you're going to have a certain amount of volume to get a hold of them. So like
Right.
dialing one at a time, like there are specialty lists like probates that you can do that.
Yeah.
But for the most part, if you're going to be dealing with like absentee owners, the sticky note might not be the most effective thing because they're not there. And sometimes the tenants just take it off, or the house is just vacant and the realtor might take it off.
Yeah.
In that instance, you're better off, in my opinion, just cold calling them because that's the only way you're going to connect with them.
Okay.
But remember, when you do these approaches, they're kind of a wide net approach. And if
Yeah.
you try to get completely granular on them, you're going to consume a ton of time.
Yeah, that's
And
what I'm
it's
doing
going to
right
eat
now.
you alive. So you're better off reaching out to a couple hundred people and find 5 or 7 that will talk to you than trying to convince 200 people to, like, a realtor will try to convince 200 people to list their house. You're only looking for 3 to 5 to even sell their property.
Right.
And if you understand that equation up front, it's easier to work through. And
Yeah.
the people that fall out, they're ones you just kind of work on follow-up. And follow-up, guys, it winds up being more than half your deals down the road because people just don't wake up one day and go, okay, I'm selling my house today. It is a cumulative effect. And this current market condition will wear on people. And somehow, do you know, like, do you ever notice like when winter comes around, more negative news comes out in the winter? And I think it's just like, it's colder, the leaves fall off the tree, there's less light in the day. It seems like all negative economic news seems to dump in the winter. And I will tell you, we just went through a midterms, so I'm not going to get political on you, but a lot of stuff got propped up. And usually right after midterms, now we go through what we call a lame duck Congress. They don't get anything done. And then by January, everyone's blaming the other party for this. And then that's when all the negative news dumps down. So
Yeah.
you're going to get a lot of shocking news that comes out in January because everybody wants to prop up prices to the end of the year. Hey, it's Christmas, it's Hanukkah, let's all have a good time. And then every January after midterms, there just becomes like this economic meltdown of information. And it's usually all pretty negative because now they're like, okay, we better just throw this. And here's their philosophy. Let's just get it out of the way. So by the end of the year, they forget about it. You're going to see this with the Federal Reserve. You're going to see this with the administration. You're going to see it across the board. Now, when that information comes out, it only helps our cause and what we're doing. And the fact that half the country is covered in a couple feet of snow doesn't make real estate all that much easier. So that's when everyone says, hey, it's, should I wait, or like, should I wait to start or anything like that? I'm telling you, December is usually my best month because I can make people to make decisions. That's the only reason. And then January, it always seems to be the dump month. Bad news about everything. So it's only going to proliferate what we talk about in wholesaling. So you just got to make up for it in quantity, what you're doing, and don't overanalyze what you're doing. If it increases your quantity, do it. A lot of it's trial and error. You're going to find, I go, man, I did this and I'm not getting anywhere. But please don't make a haste decision. Here's a haste decision. If someone did like a mailer, well, I just mailed out 1,000 letters. It didn't work. I'm never doing it again. Terrible decision. You need to get more educated, you make decisions like that because that's not how mail works. So why we like government lists where there's smoke, there's fire, you need to find the people with the highest motivation. And that's where you can start. And if you can find by getting these types of lists before you get into like a lot of your paid services, you will become a very effective wholesaler because a lot of wholesalers that have money, do you know why real estate coaches tell you got to have like $3 to $5 grand a month in marketing every month? You know why?
So you can get quantity, pay for quantity.
Yeah, because you can get quantity and you're going to make their job a heck of a lot easier.
Yeah.
What me and Zach do is kind of suicidal in a way, but it is the best thing for you guys. Because if you can figure out how to do a wholesale deal by just talking to people, by using free services, imagine what you're going to do once you understand the conversations, you understand the data, and now you can go out and spend a little bit of money. man, does it get dangerous. The problem is people who have money, they burn through it because they don't know what they're doing. And people will take advantage of them horribly. That's what gurus do. So if you have 10,000, a guru will tell you anything. Give me 5,000, and then we're going to spend 5,000 on marketing. And guess what? You go 3 months of marketing, 15 grand plus the 5. You spent 20 grand. You made 10 grand on a deal. Hey, you're a success. You're not. You just lost money, and you don't know how to go forward to actually make this thing work.
Right.
As opposed to if you do it this way, if you guys could start out and you use your hustle muscle at first, figure it out. If it takes you 3 to 6 months, consider it learning at school. I saw someone's social media post said, a doctor or a lawyer pays to learn their trade. So that's why you need to pay a guru. Well, I could go through 1,000 scenarios where that math doesn't add up. Does a boxer pay to train? In a way, but they're sponsored. So we can go all over across the boards. It doesn't make sense to me. So what, you should go $400,000 in debt to learn how to do this? It's like ridiculous. So it's honestly, you can use a combo of both. We want you to make a profit. And then when you get your profit, you can take some of that money and decide to put it back into your marketing. That, in my opinion, is the best way because people, number one, they don't get hurt. Number two, some people just aren't cut out for this business. And I don't want them to smoke through 10 or 15 grand. That's why you have a 95% failure ratio, because people think they can buy their success and you can't. You have to go through the journey.
Yeah.
So quantity, man, I'm telling you, just find quantity, however you can increase it. If you can do it organically, like trying to find these government lists, and then if you can do small paid lists, that's going to be your best way to push through this. So you got to keep going and just focus. Am I getting more quantity? As the quantity goes up, eventually your numbers have to improve. They have to.
Yeah.
And you got to make sure you only talk to super motivated people, and the people that are on the edge, you just put them up in a follow-up system. Remember, when you start out with nothing, you're pushing a boulder uphill, and it takes a while. A car has to go from 0 miles to 1 mile an hour. Okay. That's 100% increase. Then going from 1 mile to 2 miles an hour, that's another 100% increase. And eventually you build. And once you get to 34, 40 miles an hour, then you can go around, you can spend money and you can make money. Like if I spend $5,000 on direct mail, I know exactly what I'm going to make back on average. So I get an 8 to 10 times return on my direct mail. Now, I didn't in the beginning, it was terrible, but I'm very confident. And that's why I teach people at Mailing Mastery on how to do exactly what I do. So quantity is going to cure most of your issues, Kyle.
Okay.
Hands down.
All right. So I'll just get more of those lists. And then I just have one more quick question. So I am doing a lot of probate leads. I'm just every day, just taking the fresh ones and like just keeping up with them.
Okay.
As far as like talking, I know I've watched like every video, freewholesaling.com and all that stuff. But as far as like call number one, like I've had a couple of people say, keep us in mind, call us in a couple of months. But like, what if someone else calls and then takes it? You know what I mean? Like, how do I strategically approach that first conversation?
You're talking about on a probate?
On a probate. Yeah. I'm calling. I'm like, hey, Mr. Seller, blah, blah, blah. Is this your property? Yes, or whatever. And then like, yeah. And then they go, yeah, we're not quite ready to make a decision on that yet.
So I go straight in the qualifying from there. So understanding probates are a different animal.
Yeah.
So a lot of them are in limbo and they're trying to figure out if they're going to sell and when. And you have to respect that because it's depending on when you hit them. Especially if you hit them early, you got to give them that. And then I just go and listen. You mind if I ask a few questions about that property while I got you on the phone? You always want consent. You don't want to run them over. Remember, you're not even talking about price. And then if you go through MCTP, at least if you get half of it, you get an idea what the condition of the house is and stuff. So when you do a follow-up phone call with them, you've at least tried to figure out what's going on with the house. Okay. Most of the probates I deal with, they're run down, they're majorly outdated, and they need a lot of repairs, and they're vacant. Mm-hmm. If I get a combination of any of those, man, I'm all over it. I know it takes time. On average, it takes me 6 contacts before I even get to a final price on any type of probate. So probates are worth what we call the nurturing part. They just take time. Yeah. You cannot run people over because they have to go through an extra long process. Your main advantage for probates is trying to let them know that You don't have to wait till the probate's over to get this deal, to get your property sold. And you go, well, my lawyer told me otherwise. I go, what if I could show you a way you can actually accomplish this? And I can actually show you data that shows you this is true. Is that something we can talk about? So I always want to use a leverage to kind of meet with them, because every lawyer tells them, wait till the probate's over. We'll figure this out.
Yeah.
So most people don't want to wait till it's over because it's a pain in the butt. Constantly driving to the house, somebody picking up the mail, and they never wanted this house to begin with, but they do want the money out of it. And honestly, if it's vacant, it's run down, I have a great chance of getting a good deal. I'm not going to get every one of them, but just work your way through it. So when you have them on the phone, just say, listen, I fully respect that. And honestly, I think you're crazy if you try to sell it right now. What's going on with the house right now? Is there any information you can share with? Either they're going to give it to you or they don't. They go, listen, this really isn't a good time. It's a great, what's the time I can just ask a few questions with the house so I don't bother you, and just kind of go with that.
Yeah.
And remember, every time you talk to them, the first conversation sucks. I'm just going to be honest with you. And you have to get past that awkward, you are a stranger calling someone who's interested in a house of a loved one that's passed away. So you have to get past that nervous, crazy energy. Once you get past that and they go, hey, my name's Kyle. They go, oh, hey, it's Kyle. Remember I talked the other day. Now you're not a stranger. Now you're on the accepted board. And now you can ask more detailed questions and you can progress. Remember, all conversations that get to a yes is a progression of all sellers. You can't make them sell you the house, but if they have true intentions of selling the house has issues, and most realtors can't solve what they want, you've got to convince yourself you are the best solution for them. And I just have to walk them down this funnel to let them know I am the best fit. And by walking them down that funnel, you will give them extreme confidence. And when they make that decision, you're ready to go. Guys, it's so frustrating because I know so many properties right now I'm buying in my company, or we're on the verge of buying. We are the best buyer. And I just have to give them the time to walk through that process. So the old Grant Cardone thing where you can pressure people to make a decision, the reality is you just scare the hell out of them and you actually delay the inevitable sale you're going to get. So I'm not into tricking people. I have nothing against Grant Cardone, an amazing businessman. But when it comes to properties, either people make a decision to sell to you or they don't. And they're going to make a decision based on the information you give them. And if they don't like you and connect with you, it's a guaranteed no. So just get through that first awkward conversation. Let them know your name. Ask some basic qualifying questions. And if they start complying and answering them, it's a good sign that you can make progress with them. And always ask a probate permission to call them back at a certain time. And that's it. Get through it. So many people in probates, they want to go, okay, what's the condition of the house? What's the least amount you take for this house? I don't even know you. Who are you? And you start going through all this stuff. And they're like, and I learned in the beginning because I did all this. Like, here's what they say. You're making me really uncomfortable. I don't like you. Click. Crap. I got to start all over. And I learned by doing a lot of probate deals, running people over in probate is a waste of your time. They do not want to be run over. They just want to be guided through the process. That's it. You have to solve a problem for them. If you can't help them solve a problem, if you're just a number to them, you might as well be a realtor in their eyes. Make sense?
Yep. Makes sense.
Okay.
Awesome. Thanks,
Okay, Kyle. Have a good one, man. I'll talk to you. Okay. What's up, Alex? I appreciate the comment. Thank you so much. Here we go. Guys, be super careful of like TikTok. I'm on TikTok. I do it because I want to introduce people to wholesaling. And even though I think some of the videos are like ridiculous, it works. So my problem is people selling courses on TikTok. If you thought regular Facebook and YouTube was bad, TikTok's crazy. Pitt says there's a guy on TikTok trying to sell why is every course 5K, by the way? Can somebody tell me that? Because when I got started, every course back in 2003 and 4 was 20K. So why are courses less when inflation's only raged since 2003? I don't need to really tell you that answer, right? The quality of these courses are horrible for the most part. It is a course. They're focused on number. You're nothing more than revenue to these people. They are flipping students. They're not flipping houses. So if you find a course on TikTok, by the way, the whole purpose of TikTok is to entertain and engage people. It's not to sell courses. So But 5K, they'll teach you a creative financing strategy. Knock yourself out. So crazy. Ira says, I was so nervous to call yesterday, but I did it and got through it. Those calls. See, that's half the battle, guys. You just got to like get through your own fear. If you guys had a chance, go back and watch me and Zach's live stream yesterday. All we did was talk about fear, how to conquer it, how to manage it, and what does it really mean. And it was actually, I thought it was really valuable. It's a really good one. So, and then let's see. Matthew says, hey, listen, went on 2 appointments with sellers today. Didn't close the deal, but looking promising. Just giving some motivation to the people out there. So guys, you just got to get out. You got to take the action. By you not taking the action, you're pretty much making a decision. So let's jump on. Austin, you there?
Hey, Rick, can you hear me?
Yeah, man. What's going on?
Hey, how's it going? What's the temperature in Florida?
It's a balmy 74, 75 degrees, and it might get down to like 66 tonight.
Oh, wow. It's 43. I'm in Rhode Island right now.
Yeah. So I got to, people make fun of me because so I wear so most of the time I have flip-flops underneath this table. And yes,
Yeah.
I have pants on. But when it gets cold, I wear socks and put the flip-flops over it. And then when it gets really cold, I got to put on shoes. So that's how we do layers in Florida, like flip-flops with socks, and then shoes. And then, man, when it gets cold, and but you got to understand, a cold night in Florida is in the like 30s, 40s.
Yeah.
But like people laugh when I have to go up north. I wear so many layers when it's like 55 degrees out. Everybody's laughing at me. I'm like, I tell you, man, you guys melt in the heat when you come down here, man. We are so used to adapting to the heat in Florida. It's like, it's crazy. And then when you get in like the studio, like you go see, but there's a lot of cameras, there's a lot of lights. The heat gets really hot in here. So that's why I never wear like, occasionally in January, February, I wear like a long sleeve shirt, but man, there's only so much you can do because if I run like high-end ACs, you just hear the feedback. So we have to eliminate that. And all good studios I've been to have the same exact issue. It's just a huge heat problem. So, but my son goes, it'll be really nice in February in the studio. I'm like, okay, it's going to be nice for a week. So we have to adapt with the heat. So you guys are just have you got any snow there this year?
No, not yet. But
yeah.
I mean, hopefully soon. I don't mind the snow, but I don't mind the heat either. So, I like it. So
I prefer the heat because I can go in the AC and cool down. Like,
yeah,
when I get cold, man, it's like, and then like, let me ask you, what do you set your, like in January, February? So how do you heat a house? Is it with gas or electric?
It's actually oil, Rick.
It's expensive too, isn't it?
My apartment is all oil.
Really?
So yeah. It's about,
what kind of oil is it?
I honestly, I don't know.
Yeah. So
but
I just find it interesting, and I've heard about like gas prices and all that stuff, but it's like in Florida, like we don't, turning on the heat is like crazy stuff. Like it's so like my wife freaks out when the house gets below like 68 degrees. But I got to tell you, the minute it gets above 73, 74, it's like, I turn the air down. I'm like, do you know what it costs to run all these ACs in this place? It's like,
right.
But like, what temperature do you keep a house in the deep of winter? Like, so you don't go broke?
I have 2 kids, so I have to, I mean, for me, it would be around 60. And I'll walk around with like shorts on and a wife beater, but I keep it around like 68, 65.
Okay.
For my, I got a 7-month-old and a 2-year-old. So
yeah, you got to like keep them warm, man. Dude, I'm just, don't worry, dude. I do like I got heaters. My wife will throw like a heated blanket. Like I got to tell you though, it is tough to get out of bed when it's cold and early. It's
absolutely.
like, and then I have a couple of my friends live in Wisconsin.
Oh, okay.
And they're like, man, he goes, you don't know what, like January, February, so they have to plug their car in the garage.
That's crazy.
And then they go, man, if you don't have a self-starting car, it's suicide.
Yeah.
Because you got to heat it up. And it's like you literally freeze to death going from the garage door. I'm like, is it? And I wouldn't make it because we hit like, occasionally hit like 32, 33 here. And I'm like, we are not leaving the building. It's like funny. So I digress, but that's like my biggest challenges. But guys, you got to understand the trade-off. I got to deal with these ridiculous hurricanes. We get some wild floods, and I've got a busted window from a hurricane. Now it's an impact window, but I mean, it's like a ungodly amount to replace. If you ever have to just replace one window, good luck, because it's nobody wants to do it, and these types of windows are like what, and then they have to build an entire scaffolding. I have to rent a lift for $1,800 just to put the damn window on. I think the lift is more than the actual
Jeez,
window.
that's
So
crazy.
yeah, it just, but all from something flying around, hit the window,
Yeah,
knocked a little crack in it, and the guy's like, "You got to replace the whole thing." I'm like, Jesus. So we're trying to match the window to everything else, and it's just like crazy. But that's the trade-off. Plus, it's an inferno 8 months out of the year here. So it's
right. Now, how did you hanker down when you guys know there's a storm coming? Or
yeah, I got it down to a science. So when I was broke, you did everything you could to like save the house.
right,
You put up all the shutters. Now I have a different philosophy. I just I send the wife away because she can't deal when the power goes out. That's
right,
the biggest challenge in a hurricane. Is like most people are fine during the storm. You seek shelter or get like in a
right.
quality house, but if you get hit direct with a hurricane, you usually lose the power for at least 2 weeks, and that's the part that, because it's 90 degrees the next day. You're like, so
Right.
nothing's refrigerated and it becomes like a real challenge. So if you're financially just stressed, it's really
Yeah.
hard because you typically lose your clothes, all your food
Groceries.
and
Right.
everything. And then you just have like some flooding, and then you got to figure out what to do. So
Yeah, it's-
when you make a little bit more money, you just pack your stuff up and go, okay, if it's a remodel. So if something happens to it, I go, okay, whatever, we'll just remodel it, move on. It's an insurance claim. But I've been there, man. Like it's I was in Port St. Lucie when we got hit with 2 hurricanes within I think it was 10 days. And I'm like, you
that's
got to be
crazy.
kidding me. Water pouring through the roofs. That was a really bad year.
Yeah.
But it was one of my best years in wholesaling because I
Yeah.
did so many deals. So it's
That's
it's like we all have issues. We all like, so we don't deal with freezing pipes. You guys probably do, stuff like
yep.
that. I wouldn't even like know what to do. So if I buy stuff up by you, like I sell it instantly because I don't know what I'm doing. I
Yeah,
don't know
it's
how to
also tough.
winterize a house.
Right. It's also tough, up here with, nobody really wants to repair a roof in the winter,
Yeah. So I'm actually,
you know.
I'm in the process of replacing a roof right now on one of my rental properties. Just kind of, I got the bill. I'm like, you got to be kidding me. I was like,
Jeez, yeah.
wow. So it's like 10 grand to even do like a basic tiny house, which used to be a $3,000 or $4,000 repair. So I
Right.
digress. What's going on, man? What can I help you out with?
Well, hey, so you and Zach, the amount of information you guys have is just crazy. About 4 months ago, I really started, reading a couple of wholesaling books and stuff like that. But then I found you, Zach, and your page, freewholesaling.com. And I dove all in. I was
Awesome.
for about a month solid. Started calling FSBOs constantly. So actually that's what I'm leading up to. I am under an agreement with a seller. I got it locked in on November 15th, and it was a probate from FSBO. So, we've been going back and forth. Everything's been good. And actually I had a buyer lined up before like I even, basically locked in the agreement. The buyer backed out on me basically kind of last minute. I feel like, I don't know, maybe I could have did something a little more, maybe, I don't know. But then once that happened, I realized, okay, I really got to buckle down. I have PropStream that I use with a partner down in North Carolina as well. So I kind of just been calling, cash buyers all around there, posting on the Facebook groups as well. I feel like I could be doing more. I also do the Zillow for rent near where the property is. It's in Lenore, North Carolina. So it's kind of like up in the mountains. But they're kind of giving me the runaround of so we texted today. I called her this morning. I said, hey, the buyer that I had actually backed out. I really want to just apologize. And, I'm really going to try to, find a buyer, hopefully by, Monday, because there's also a renter in there that they gave a month's notice to basically leave the property by the 31st. And that's when the closing is. So today I called them. We've been locked in at 16, 15 days. So she's like, we've been locked in about a month and you come to me with this and this, that. And I'm like, look, I just want to, her name's Lisa. I said, Lisa,
Yeah.
I'm really sorry. I just want to apologize. I really didn't know my buyer was going to do that. And I also feel like, I could have done more as well. But
so what happened with your buyer?
The contractor I had, he had a buyer as well. And that was the buyer. And then she wasn't interested, and all I've been getting, Rick, is just low balls. And so the listed price was 320. I talked to him down to 200K, and then they came back to me with 210. So I was like, okay, we locked in at 210. Maybe I feel like I comped wrong. Stuff like that. I felt like I could have, done my comps a little better and stuff like that. So, I'm just kind of like, I'm nervous. I'm all worried about like getting sued and stuff like that. But like, I feel like they're really mad at me. She texted me. She was like, hold on, let me just pull up the text really quick, Rick. Where'd it go? So she texted me saying, our attorney needs the name and the contact information of your attorney or title company that will be handling the closing. He needs to coordinate with them to send them the deed and other forms they need. Thank you, Lisa. I said, hey, Lisa. And then when she texted me, I immediately called her. I said, hey, Lisa, the buyer I had backed out, and I've been really just looking for a solid buyer for you guys. And, she's like, I can't believe you're doing this, da, da, da. And I'm like, look, Lisa, I just want to apologize again. I'm really trying. I'm really doing my due diligence. And so going back to, I said, we talked on the phone, she was like, what if maybe I should never mention, by Monday, maybe I can find a buyer for her. But, I've been looking all week. I actually I have a bunch of lists from my local water authority. I have like 3,000 water shutoffs I haven't got to. I have a bunch of fire code violations around my county as well that I haven't got to. Also, I have another fire leads in Winston-Salem, North Carolina, that I haven't got to. And I've just been honing in on this property to really try to get them. So I'm just kind of just putting all that other stuff off and just kind of just focusing on this. I don't know, if maybe I should have never locked in the contract. I'm just,
how long ago did you enter into this contract?
I would say about 17 days ago, Rick. Let's see.
And then when did your cash buyers somewhat commit to you on this? How many days after that?
Like not way before I even looked it up. I basically went to my contractor. The contractor walked the property. He was like, look, I have a buyer that would be interested in this. So I locked it up. Come to find out, he kind of didn't, he's got family stuff going on. I'm not mentioning nothing. And then I texted him like, hey, what's going on with that buyer? Oh, she's not interested. The price is too high.
So are you past your inspection period?
Yes.
So here's what you need to do. So like I just kind of cut to the chase is I don't know if you have the right price because it's hard to tell. So the idea is you get it under contract. You have a good indication that you're well below the numbers you need to be to attract a cash buyer. Right. And then when one cash buyer, listen, unless a cash buyer signs a contract and leaves some sort of deposit, you don't have a deal. And you have to pay attention. You can feel like you're getting a deal. Some people talk, but at the end of the day, if someone doesn't write a check and sign an agreement, you don't have a cash buyer, and you have to honor the agreement you have. If you let it expire past the inspection period, you're going to have to just kind of man up, and you've gone past it. You've kind of screwed up. So it's not the end of the world. I've done it too. Everyone's done it. So did you use our contract when you entered them?
I did not. I actually used the title company that I have's contract.
Okay. So now you're going to have to read that contract with a fine tooth comb. How big of a deposit do you have on it?
I have no deposit, no EMD.
So listen, I would just try to save face with the seller and just at this point, just tell them I can't perform on this contract. They really don't care why you can't do it. But the idea is you want to mitigate any more damage on this because if you drag this out long and like hey, I couldn't sell it. You did this, you did that. We all learn. Like you just learn.
Right.
So you guys got to pay attention when you write contracts, because until someone commits to you, and by the way, everybody looks, oh yeah, I'm in until they sign. I have one going on right now. Same freaking deal. I only got like a week to figure it out. We don't want to close on it for a company. I have a buyer that I normally work with.
Yeah.
I've had a relationship over like 12 years, and
Mhm.
they've committed to me verbally, but they won't sign the agreement.
Yeah.
And I said, listen, today's the day. Like either sign
Right.
this, like on buyers, you do have to put ultimatums with them because they're going to have you extend forever. Do you know how many buyers I had that actually signed an agreement with me and then they never left a deposit? If you guys read my assignment agreements, every fail I've had is written into that contract. So it basically says if you sign and you don't leave a deposit by the end of that day, your agreement's null and void, and I can sell it to anybody I want without any obligation to you. So I would just call up the seller and just, you got to just kind of apologize one more time and just go, I can't make this work. Like,
Right.
you're not
That's
even going
what
to
I
ask for a
was.
reduction because you're not really in a position to even do it because you don't even have intel if reduction would help your situation or not. So now you have to be in preventative mode. The
Right.
best way you can do is just be brutally honest with people and go, listen, at this time, I cannot close on this contract. I apologize. Can I send over? So find out whatever release form it is. You need to sign it, and eventually you're going to have to coax her into signing it. Now, here's the good news: is people will say, "I'm going to sue you for not performing." What, like Austin? What's the reality? What are they going to sue you for? Like, how much money are they going to?
Right, right. It's just
People
my.
always talk about it. Like, look, don't get me wrong. It's kind of a crappy thing you did. I'm just going to be brutally honest, but you learn from it. But
Right.
mitigate your damage and don't let it go any further and just move on. Try
Right.
to move on with her. Apologize. Whatever I need to sign with you, make it right. If you'll sign this release, I'll get out of your hair. You can find the best buyer. If you want me to talk to the renter, I'll try to patch it through and just move on. Sometimes you just got to move on and you need to find another deal. And you know, going forward, you will never, ever do this again.
Absolutely.
People, like I went over this yesterday, the people that sue you are the ones you really piss off and hurt their feelings because they make it very personal.
Right.
So if you just go, listen, I messed up. I apologize. Don't talk about how I'm a wholesaler or how to find another buyer. At this point, I just can't close on this property. Something's come up. I don't have the funds because you don't, and just move on and mitigate it and try to get out of that property so she can sell it. By her suing to you, now she has to tie her property up in a legal process. And to be honest with you, sue you, she's going to have to pay a lawyer $5 or $10,000 just to open up the case. So just fess up, move on. Like we all make mistakes.
Right. And she also said, she wanted to, we were on the phone. She was like, now, are you going to pay me for the probate of me going through the probate? I'm like, no.
She would have had to go through that process either way, right?
That's exactly what I said. I was like,
look, I've helped you out with this part of it. So it's,
right.
I don't know, dude. Like asking someone for like that a discount is just going to blow up in your face. So I would admit to your shortfalls and just move forward.
That's exactly what
people
I did.
that sue you, it means you hurt them and you kept lying to them and you got them so pissed off they hired a lawyer.
Right.
If you go, listen, I made a mistake and I want you to find success with your property. So you got to give her the facts. I'm going to sign the release and send it over to the title company. If you could sign it so you can get your property sold. If you want me to help you out with your tenant, you want me to go personally visit them, I'll do whatever I got to do. And she might be pissed, but she'll respect you in the long run for at least coming forward and owning up to your mistake. That's all you can do, man. Like I've done it before. And in the future, I want you to understand, like by using our contracts, it's really hard to sue you for performance because the settlement is basically your deposit. That's it. So when you sign these contracts, but guys, suing someone for performance is a huge obligation. It's terrible. I've never sued someone for performance because I don't want to spend $15,000 suing somebody. It's not worth it. So just move on and don't do this again. Absolutely. So I appreciate you taking the effort, but your problem is you put all your hopes on one cash buyer and it didn't really work out.
Right.
And you didn't follow through and you just assume you get someone else. So you know what they say about assuming anything. You just got to don't let it get you tripped up. And I promise you won't make this mistake going forward. And don't let this take you out from wholesaling. I've made much worse mistakes, dude.
Yeah, it's just, I was sitting
I
here.
made
She texted me.
$150,000 mistakes. I wrote a check and moved on with my life. So it's like the mistakes, you just can't afford to repeat them. If you repeat them, you
Right.
will get killed.
Yeah, so she also, she texted me basically, probate has nothing to do with an updated will. After probate, you can get the transferred into our names, but we just have not done that because we did not need to. Our lawyer has just officially made a new deed based on the probated will because you said you needed a new deed. Have you had any training on selling and buying
Yeah,
property?
listen, dude, just come clean. I cannot close on this property. I apologize. I have some unfortunate situations in my life. I've signed the return, the cancellation. I will do whatever you need to do. If you need me to drive it to you, I'll give it to the title company. I
This is actually
apologize.
perfect.
I just don't want to tie up any more of your time and just
Right,
move on. Like she's not going to be happy about it, but you want this to drag on for months because if you do, she could hire a lawyer and sue you. And the
right.
lawyer's going to go, well, it's questionable we can get out of this, but like, what do you really want? Most people just want their property sold. So he's like, fine, just list it with a realtor and do what you need to do.
Rick, I work with a couple. It's actually in North Carolina. I'm in Rhode Island. So I do 50-50 virtual and my local market.
Okay.
So I have a couple of a real estate agent that I'm pretty close with that I was gonna refer her to. But
I would talk to the real estate agent too and see, what's going on with the price to see how far you're really off, just in case you have to give a counter offer. But dude, I get off this phone and minimize your mistake now, especially going through like the weekend. It just, guys, we all make mistakes. Like you tried to do the right thing. It just didn't work out. You didn't stick to your rules and you'll learn from, I promise you'll never make this mistake again.
Absolutely.
Buyers are difficult right now, guys. You gotta
Yeah.
get longer inspection periods and you gotta work with a lot of cash buyers. And if you got this information sooner, you could have either renegotiated or just got out of the contract legally and ethically. So now you got to do it. But like, honestly, you dragging this saga out will only make it worse. And it's going to create a lot of anxiety on you and the seller. So just do the right thing, move on. Don't over apologize because like they don't really want to hear it. And just say, listen, I want you to get the house sold. I just need to get out of your way. You need to get out of her way because there's no rectifying it. And don't try to rectify it. The only rectification in this, if she signs that release, you're clear and free.
So I actually didn't even send the agreement to my title company yet. So
here's the other thing is whichever title company attorney you're working, I would sit down and get their opinion on it, on if you actually have a legitimate deal, just so you know where you stand. Unfortunately, you have to protect you and your family and your business.
Right.
So find out where it is and then do the right thing with her. And you don't need lawyers to like complicate your lives. You just she needs to move on. She needs to get the property sold and talk to the realtor and see how far off you're in a price. And man, take this as a huge learning lesson. It happens. It happens to everybody. But like the sooner you figure it out, the better off you'll be.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Thank you so much, Rick.
Okay, man.
I really appreciate your time, man.
No problem, man. You got it. Don't worry about it. Keep going. Just fix the problem and move on.
Absolutely. Thank you again.
See ya. So guys, listen, when you know you've made a mistake and you've screwed up, if you go too far down the rabbit hole and you keep making up excuses and you lie to sellers, that's when you're going to get sued. So as soon as you figure out you made a mistake, if you went past the inspection period, you offered too much, go and rectify it with your seller, because I'm telling you, if you keep going down that journey, it only gets worse. Ask me how I know this. It's better just to come clean, get that difficult conversation so you can move on. The seller can make their life right. You can fix your business. If you drag it on, you're just going to tick them off. And that's how you wind up getting sued. And I don't want anybody to get sued here. So guys, I'm going to wrap this up. I appreciate your time. Make sure you subscribe to my YouTube channel, Rick Ginn, also Zach Ginn. And if you're not subscribed to this channel, Flip with Rick. I will be back on, when am I on? I'll be on Monday evening. Zach will be on Sunday night. And you guys can connect with me anytime on YouTube or our Wholesaling Houses for Real. I appreciate you guys, and you have a blessed day. Go out there and get some deals. And I appreciate